something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? I hope you had a bloody good weekend and that life, the universe and everything is treating you very well. I have been promising you for the last few days that we were going to catch up with our dear friends Donna and Peter from the Corruption Whistleblower. You may have heard last week. Their property was raided, or at least the property they're staying on in New South Wales was raided. A couple of helicopters descended on them, multiple police out of those helicopters and whatever else. We haven't heard too much else because the police, after descending, took every electronic device on the property and disappeared with them. So today, from a cracked old laptop, that's what that beautiful halo is coming in over Donna's head there. Hello to Donna and Peter from the Corruption Whistleblower. Great to see you guys. So thankful that you are okay and that you're not behind bars, so to speak. First of all, what's it like? I mean, I've been to the property. I know the property very, very well. There's plenty of room for at least 2 helicopters to land there. It must have been a bit surreal to see them coming in, though.
Well, yes, it definitely was at 5:30 in the morning, and they're sort of hovering right outside your window. So yeah, it was quite a shock. Went into a bit of a dream and thought, what is that? But
I looked out the bedroom window. And there's a helicopter there with people coming out of the helicopter. And I'm like, this is a raid. We have no idea why they'd be raiding us. We know that the owner of the property had recently been disarmed in regards to they were in with Royal Registry. It's been a bit of a Royal Registry thing, so we obviously thought it was something to do with that. We had no idea, and so in comes the helicopters, pre-dawn raid, and I'm like, there's a raid, and he's like, because we're going, why would we be getting raided, you know? And so the helicopter, and it comes right down and shines the light right into the windows and everything, and Pete's like, yeah, they know we're in here, because what do you say? They got thermal.
Yeah, they got thermal detection.
Yeah, they got thermal. Yeah.
So we're like, no use hiding, no use running. We're not hiding anything. So we're like, okay. We, just made sure we were warm enough because we knew it was going to be cold, because we were the Greenwich raid, the one down in New South Wales, Greenwich or Greenwich or whatever the area is called, near downtown Golden. Yeah. So anyhow, we ended up the whole property was surrounded. So supposedly there was drones. We know there was choppers. There was numerous 4-wheel drives that come around, and this is what they do. They came in full army gear. They came with all the helmets, all the bulletproof stuff, fully. The other person who was in the other area had all the red dots put on them, so that they had the infrared. When they're lining you up, the scope. Yeah, he was covered in, I won't say his name, he was covered in scope dots, and they're like, come out, and he's like, I'm coming out. Like, we got nothing to hide, we got no weapons, we've just completely been disarmed because of Royal Registry, like I said, so they know the property's clean. So they've got this big military operation coming in on 4 people that are asleep going, hello, we just got to go and have a feed of chickens. Won't be a minute. And so Pete and I just get dressed, and I walked out, oars to combat. I said, I'm a protected civilian, oars to combat. And we just walked out to see, because we don't want to get, show that we don't get shocked.
Yeah.
So we just walked out, hands up, oars to combat, and just went over near the big tank thing that they had. They had brought in 2 tanks for us this time down in Adelaide. Down in Adelaide, we only got 1 because this is not our first rodeo. Of course, we've been bear-catted and pointed at guns before when we were in South Australia Common Law Court.
Yeah, it was completely ridiculous. It was totally, they would have spent, at an estimate, I would say roughly, just in my opinion, probably at least $500,000 on that raid. And they could have just come to the door. Like, it's just
smashed their bus window. They were. I must admit, when we went out and was to come back myself, and then we were just talking to them. they were actually quite reasonable. Once we started talking to them, Peter's talking to them for like about 10 or 15 minutes. And in the end, he goes, do you reckon you come over and be a sheriff? This is to the sergeant of the guys, all their military guys. And he's like, yeah, as long as I can just jump out of helicopters. And I'm like, well, all our taxpayer money is paying for all of that. So that's fine. Let's just do it. So we're arresting the right kind of the wrong kind of people instead of terrorizing the civilians. You know, we need to be going after really his bosses. And we did tell them when we're out the front with the Raptor team, your bosses, didn't we, love? Out the front with the Raptor team.
Yeah, but just go back to the guys who were securing the site in the military gear, but they had police on them. I went into a conversation with them, and surprisingly enough, the ones that were in our group were awake to a lot, and they were ready to jump ship. But I said to them, yeah, but you've been working for a foreign military occupation here. You'd have to do community service with that for that to potentially happen. But they didn't have mens rea because they don't really know. And so for those, even though in the Nuremberg trials, following orders didn't release them from what they criminally did, but however, we still do need all those tactical people that are good people. They were pretty good. They didn't bash us up. I actually thanked them and said, look, thanks for not bashing us up, because that's what usually happens. Even though if you don't resist, you get bashed up, you get gun butted, you get kicked in the head, you get all these things. Their foot on your throat or on your face or something. They didn't do that to us. They were quite good, but it was full overkill, like full waste of taxpayer money. And well, you know, it was just completely overkill.
Did they
have fun?
Did they destroy a lot of stuff? I watched the Desi Freeman video over the weekend where the owner of the property that Desi was on was telling his story of what he saw on the day, and that was that the police, even after the events of the day, the police went through and were deliberately malicious in the damage that they caused.
That's why they brought Sarah in. Yeah, interesting you said that. They have to, they obviously did do that, what you're saying, because it's usually how they do it. So what they had this time, they brought Sarah, the inspector of Goulburn Police, to supervise the police and their conduct. So they were all on their best behaviour because Sarah, so even though Peter did point out that's the police, you know, watching over the police, I think they're on much better behaviour, because clearly now this is going to an inquiry or something. What's it going to? A coronial inquiry. They're all on their best behaviour now. So, but again, we did say, hey, guess what? We come out and we're like, how come no one's got their cameras on? No one had their cameras on again, Carl.
No one's
the big helicopter one where we're coming out, where it would have been, where if we were coming out to do something, that's where you'd want your cameras on, you'd want all your footage, you want everything. No one had cameras on. And I said, wait a minute, we've just come out of a court case where the judge pulled the police up for not having their cameras on. How come you guys don't have your cameras on? And like, we don't, hello.
And just on that topic, we read some stuff from the coronial inquiry that's going on into Desi Freeman the other day, and the judge was told that we all know that Desi was shot, 20 or 27 times, but none of the snipers had their cameras on. I mean, it's an execution.
And even the first round, none of them had cameras on, did they, Carl? When they first come and ambushed him in his own house.
No, apparently there is at least one camera with audio, no video, but it has audio. So there may well
the one
be
his
some
son
video.
got. Besides the one his son got, or is it a cop one or the one his boy got?
No,
because I saw a video where they were saying that his son got footage.
I believe it's one of the police body cams. Whether or not there is video attached to it or not, but there is certainly audio of it. They actually have a complete transcript of everything that was said at the door of Desi's door while they were trying to break into the bus. In fact, the timeline that the police gave for this whole first interaction with Desi back in August last year is now being disproved in the coroner's court to a great extent. And the reason that they won't release the other body footage that may compromise officers' testimony. So there is some weird shit going on about that in Victoria at the moment. And obviously you guys have been pretty obvious in your opposition of government. The Corruption Whistleblower has put out 3 newspapers so far. We call them newspapers, but they are better expressed as briefs of evidence. Yeah. And the 4th is hopefully out in the not too distant future, which will be full of solutions rather than what we've seen in previous. And I can't wait for that to come along. So do you feel that they've used this whole DESI thing because of just an association with, and I hate putting these 2 words together, sovereign citizens, because
sovereign citizens.
I'm
Well,
so
what?
against that term.
They never said that to us. And because what I did, I first walked out and I said, do not call us sovereign citizens. I said, that's a death threat if you brand us with that. I said, it's defamation. And I think you threw in there and said, and it's slander.
Yeah.
Do not call us that name. Every time I got around police, I said that was in like my first 2 paragraphs of chatting with them. I say, just don't ever call me that, because I'm not that. And I reject that. I'm a protected civilian. I'm not a sovereign citizen.
And we're whistleblowers. But we're definitely not sovereign citizens, because that's an impossibility. There's only one sovereign citizen in this world at the moment, and that's King Charles, because he's a subject to the UK Parliament and he's the sovereign. So no one else can be that. And as you know, we don't need to touch on that rubbish anymore, because it's just
thank you for addressing
media.
So essentially, though, they've used this as an information grab. So they've used whatever rights they have under the DESI laws to come after you guys. And like you said, they treated you very nicely. They didn't tear the place apart, which is really good, because, as I say, I've been to the place a couple of times. It's the most magnificent property. And the Bearcat would hardly be needed. While there are a lot of buildings on the property, you could probably lean against a few of the walls and push your way through them if you wanted to. But Bearcat seems to be overkill. But they've used this in a way to, try and get, I think, access to the work that you guys are doing. And
what they're going to find, Carl? What they're going to find on our computers and in our phones and in our hard drives? They're going to find, for me, a really good mum with lots of beautiful photos of my daughter. They're going to find that we're really kind, that we're really generous, and we really care for our country. They're going to find kind words and kind supportive emails, and they're going to find that we know what we're talking about with our work that's in there as well. So, let them give it to their legal team, because they better get their defence ready, because we're coming for them.
So, Pete, this hasn't been a raid. This is a recruiting exercise for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty well. And surprisingly enough, what happened to us, because as soon as I talk to police now, within 1 or 2 minutes, I know if they're Freemasons or not. So what happened is, once they secured the place and they had us standing out the front, they didn't handcuff us or anything. They arrested one fella, but then let him go later on some Queensland warrant. But anyhow, when we were out the front, as soon as I started hearing them talking, I said to one of them, "Oh, have you got the Freemason oath?" And the guy still looks at me and goes, "No way." And so I spoke about the oath, heal, conceal, never reveal.
We've got it in the document now, the full oath.
Or I have my tongue torn out by the root, my throat cut. Like, it's a terrorist oath. And he goes, "No way, I wouldn't say that." And then I was just observing them all, and then I noticed the other guy was a real smart ass, and I said something to him, and I said, "Have you got the oath?" And straight away just looked away like that, wouldn't answer, because under their oath, they have to tell the truth. Or they have to tell the truth and say that they are, but he just refused to answer it. And I said, "Yeah, you're a Mason. You're a Mason. I can see your aura straight away." And then I started wandering my eyes around the other ones, and I said to one of them, "I had a wrong opinion of you. Seeing your aura was a little bit mixed up, but I realised now you're not a Mason." I was a bit confused. And then I went over to the other one and I said, "What about you? Are you a Mason?" And he did the same thing.
He said, I can't answer that. Or won't. No, he said something. One of them said they can't or won't answer.
Anyway,
I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to go into that.
We're not going into that. Yeah,
not going into that.
So I said to him, "Look, if I had a soccer team and I was teaching that oath, I'd be arrested in 2 seconds flat for terrorism. I can't have soccer students and then say to them, okay, swear this oath. If you're telling any of the soccer secrets, you've got to heel conceal, or we're going to cut your throat.
And no, I'll just read it out. It's in the document. We'll go over to the document soon. Under no less penalty than on the violation of them that as having my throat cut across. This is their oath. I'm not saying this. This is the Mason. This is just the entry level oath.
Apprentice oath.
Apprentice oath. This is just when you first get in the door. We've got a few others in here as well. So that having their throat cut across, their tongue torn out by the root and buried in the sand of the sea at low water mark, or a cable length of the shore where the tide regularly ebbs and flows twice a day within 24 hours. The other one's about having your breasts torn open and your heart torn out and then fed to ravenous birds. And the other one is the master one. When you get really good at being conniving, you get your, if you do any violations, your sever my bowels are burnt to ashes. Yeah, their bowels are burnt to ashes. Yeah, and scattered on the face of the earth. Yeah,
to tell them their secrets.
Yeah.
So it's a terrorist organisation, and it's in every every sort of second or third suburb. You'll see a Mason building, and it's disgusting. And
people these days, most of them are closed down. I get quite.
That was their plan.
With my trips,
yep.
Maybe.
But there's still enough around. We've been around the country and we've seen them full on, like where they'll be on the main street, a big G up the top and do the whole bit.
Because it feeds into this document, this Mason stuff, because they're the ones running the place, and then everyone above them, and it's they're a part of the foreign occupation. That's what we've pretty much found out.
Yeah.
So let's get into this document then. We've alluded to it a couple of times, and I have it here for people to peruse. Now, where did you come up with the name United Citizens Saving Australia?
No, you got to say it right. Say it again.
United Civilians Saving Australia. Yeah,
that's better. You see it.
Ooh,
thank you. Huge difference. Enormous difference.
Well, it actually gave itself its birth when we were driving around the country and we come up with a name. The first one that everybody was going, oh, you can't be sovereign and you can't be this and that. And then so we slowly started moving it around. So it developed over about a week and a half.
About a month, really. We've gotten a few names from Namecheap, put it that way. In the birthing of this process. We've changed it about 4 times, I think, in the process, but we landed on United Civilians Saving Australia because we want to cross over to mainstream. We don't want to scare them with the word sovereign because they don't. It's too much education for the moment. So we want it nice and clean. Oh, what? Don't you want to save Australia? We want words they're familiar with because we're trying to help the mainstreamers wake up. You know what I mean?
It's just a far better name anyway. So there was a bit of a birthing process. It did come out sideways to begin with.
It's a breech birth.
But then it ended up at this, which we really love because we want to unite all the groups. And like I said to you earlier, Carl, we don't care. We're in a zoo with all these different creatures with different personalities, but as long as their hearts are in the right place, we need to unite because we fight and we win. But with all this division that's going on, and it's not deep division where people are saying they hate each other, but it's opinion
driven instead of evidence based. It's opinion-driven instead of evidence-based.
We don't like to try and use that word too much, but, because, like I said, everybody in the zoo's got to have its own personality, and that's how we debate as men and women on equal terms to have our say and respect each other. So
to tell you the truth, can I just go to a completely just jump in here? Because we, like Brian Shaw stuff, we need to reach out to Brian Shaw. We're using his material that's never been really run. And we did email it to Brad Potts. He's one of the cops. And so we are looking to talk with Brian Shaw because we would love to get his stuff out there. So we're not against the constitutionalists. We want to speak with Wayne Glue because he was saying amazing stuff that was true about Desi and everything. But we can't fall back under the Constitution. These guys have just got to read what we've got here in this document. It's really simple. It's one read through. Like I said, Mike Holt, Mr. Constitution, got it straight away. First reading. He's, helping us with the page and he's been doing amazing work. So this is the thing. It's not that we don't like the constitutions. We love the people. Please, not for 1 second think that we don't like you as people. All of you, we love you all so much. You've been doing amazing work. But let's upgrade where we're going, because we can't fall back under the pedo king. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and the reason we love changing it from Sovereign Australia to Saving Australia is because all the people with the big hearts, like yourself, Carl, all we want is the same objective in the end. We want to save our country because it's going down the toilet at a rapid rate of knots, and the people are the ones that are wearing the brunt of it, whether it be commercially, whether it be physically or economically, and all those other things. But so we're asking all the groups to just jump on board. No one else has made the application into the International Criminal Court or the International Court of Justice. And as we said earlier, if you keep doing the same thing, i.e. going to the high courts and thinking that those Freemason courts are going to save you, and you keep doing it, well, then it's just not right. I don't want to use the word that is in that saying, but, if you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome, you've got a problem. You need to look outside the box. That's what we've decided to do, look outside the box. And if we have, 250,000 of us that unite and sign this document, and we'll walk through it a little bit as we go through, but you actually get civilian protections under the Geneva Convention and the Hague regulations. And so why wouldn't you sign it if you love your country? But, let's stop throwing rocks at each other and unite, because we're all here for the same reason.
Oh, can I just have a little... Scroll down to page 6 as you're doing. Thank you very much. You'll zip past. This is still a draft one, but it's a really ferocious draft. So we've got the evidence. Yeah. So all we found is that. So we just found that they took this act shall bind the crown out, and then we kept researching.
So let's just explain to people what we're looking at here.
Okay.
So
this is the first draft bill for the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Australia.
That's right.
And so what? The bit that up the top here, the Act to bind the crown.
That's right. So after reading the Concealed Colony, and it's a fantastic document, we're just standing on the shoulders of those giants to a large degree, but we had access to far more internet stuff, and were very lucky to have the investigative skills and the stuff available to us. So it says in the Concealed Colony that they altered the Constitution. So I'm like, I wonder if there's any other amendments in there that we don't know about. And so I asked, Donna and we asked the National Archives Australia to send us a copy of the 1899 draft bill to constitute the Commonwealth of Australia. And people will say, it's only a draft. Yeah, but it's the draft that's approved by the electors, 371,000 of them out of the 1.2 million. So in no way was it a majority. To have a look to see if there was any other amendments in there which weren't pointed out in the Concealed Colony. And what do we get to as soon as we read it? Says in covering clause 2, says this act shall bind the crown. And when you get
we found that, Carl. We found this, not Concealed Colony, not GBT chat, not. I'd already before this put the whole act of the first one in and the whole act of the second one in. Even GBT chat didn't find this.
Nothing.
We found it. And what are we supposed to do? Go, I'm not going to tell anyone. We might upset a few constitutionalists. What are we supposed to do with that information?
Yeah. Carl? And so when we looked at the covering clause 2 that came back, which is the one down in the yellow, and I'll just read out what it actually says in the draft bill, that the 371,000, which is a minority of the 1.2 million electors, voted for it. But even if we said that all of the 1.2 million eligible electors voted for this one, this act shall bind the crown, when it came back, doesn't say that. And in the top one, it says, this act shall bind the crown and its provisions referring to the Queen shall extend to her heirs and successors in the sovereignty of the United Kingdom. And the one down the bottom just says the provisions are referring to the Queen.
Shall extend.
So that gives her, you know what that gives her, Carl? That gives her the continuity of power. Yeah, isn't that handy? So it just gets handed on with no immunity.
So the provision,
with no accountability. I mean, so the continuity.
Right. The Crown is what provides the accountability, and the fact that this act shall bind the Crown is missing from the first line of what was incorporated into our Constitution means that the Crown, as people perceive it to be, isn't part of our Constitution. Only the provisions referring to the Queen and her heirs and successors are what's relevant to the Constitution. Is that what I'm getting out of it?
It's getting there.
That's correct. So the provisions are she appoints a Governor General, she assents to acts, and, is the head of the Speaker of the House. There's probably about 4 or 5 things that are the provisions where she does the appointing or the people under it. Go on, Carl.
So if that's right, given everything that's happened, we have a Queen of Australia then who would supposedly be the person that we would see as the sovereign of Australia. I mean, Gough Whitlam made a Queen of Australia. Who's the Queen of Australia?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. There's no crown and there's no office of Queen of Australia. But if you look at that covering clause 2 there in yellow, it says in the sovereignty of the United Kingdom. So the Queen of Australia isn't part of that constitution when you look at it that way. But getting back to, because you're 100% correct, but how that happens is, which we're going to get to that in a minute, is that if the top one says this act shall bind the Crown and the provisions, there's the accountability that the 371,000 people voted for in covering clause 5, because we've got to look at these 2 pieces to actually figure the puzzle out. And if the act binds the Crown, and if we can just go down to, and it doesn't in the one that's in play now, if we can just go down to that paragraph.
Page 8, wasn't it, from memory?
Page 8, paragraph 26. What does it say? It says this
Commonwealth
act.
of Australia Constitution Act 1900 UK extract below covering clause 5, operation of the Commonwealth and its laws. The Act and all laws made by the Parliament of the Commonwealth under the Constitution shall be binding on the courts, judges, and the people of every state and every part of the Commonwealth, notwithstanding anything the law states goes into the ships and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that first part of that is essentially what we're talking about. The Act and all its laws made by the Parliament of the Commonwealth under the Constitution shall be binding on the courts, judges, and the people of every state and every part of the Commonwealth.
That's correct. Now, if they're in there and they can make whatever laws they want, where's the accountability with this act binds the Crown removed?
Yes, because it has the provisions. It doesn't bind the Crown.
That's right. But the one we voted for says this act binds the Crown. And as we spoke before, I put a bet out there and no one's taken it up, 10-1, because all the constitutionalists, not all of them, but a small number of them started arguing back and getting their feathers all flustered and that. But we just discovered it, and we're just here to show the people. I was a constitutionalist before because I couldn't find anywhere else to land, but now I've found this thing. There's no way we're coming back under this constitution because it allows that section 5, the way it's written now, for the parliamentarians to make whatever laws they want and inflict them on us. It's a dictatorship with this act. Right. That's right. So if at covering clause
immunity,
if at covering clause 5 they sign up to the WHO, and it still had this act binds the Crown, all those people that have been damaged from the COVID shot would have been able to sue the Crown. But without this act shall bind the Crown, now the government makes laws upon us and they just do what they want.
They exempt themselves, they give themselves immunity. Oh, no, you can't sue any judge. Oh, I can't have anything against a judge, no matter how poor their decisions are. You know, they're always pulling you back into the system. You have to appeal it. But so this is where we've landed. So that's what we found. What do we say?
Now that you've got this document, the question becomes what to do with it. What is required now going forward?
Well, we believe, and through experience, we've made many applications, not hundreds, but at least 40 or 50 myself personally, into the courts, and there's no justice to be found there. You know, you might find a little bit if you're having an argument with somebody else, but when it comes to the government making these laws, terrorising us, like recently passing the ACO bill, and someone gets locked up for 5 years because they don't want to open their mouth, which is ridiculous. They've committed no crime. There's no one to sue. There's no one to sue. You know, some people will, you know, there's no accountability. It's not even about suing. There's no accountability. So
well, how much accountability is there when they take your children?
Exactly.
You can't get justice anywhere when they take your children, no matter how you yell and scream and give them notices and give them fee schedules and everything. I got Takara back, as you know, from representing myself, but there should have been a compensation. They revoked all the orders. They said, yeah, we were wrong. We revoked the orders after 36 days. Yeah. Okay, well, can I have some compensation for that? No, stuff off and don't talk to us anymore. All of them said that to me in their own professional way.
So you did ask a question before, and I haven't addressed it yet. But so where to from now? Well, if the High Court and the Supreme Courts and the District and the Magistrate Courts are failing in their responsibility to listen to the people, because the people aren't making the laws. We've got this dictatorship bunch of people which appear more than beyond reasonable doubt that are all Freemasons, because the king who made the Constitution, or the king and the Queen's families who made this Constitution were Freemasons. So basically what they did is they gave Freemason free reign over this country to make laws in this government and inflict them on us. Like, and we don't want it. But
themselves.
So the answer is, or the next move, I shouldn't say the answer is, because all we're doing is having a go. We're going to the next position that we absolutely have to go, because there's nowhere to go here.
No.
There's nowhere to go here. Even when Jody Lowe raised that 30,000 for Jackie, it was like, see you later, 30,000, just gave it to a lawyer who lost. You know, it's a joke.
It was a doctor, I think he raised it.
Yeah, and the doctor was right.
They're right. They're right.
They're right, but there's no remedy here.
We're going to get one Mason judge and you're done. We need jury courts back here again. We need accountability. We need the whole lot. And they've all sworn. That's why they That's why they swear their allegiance to the king.
Yeah.
That's why they swear their allegiance. They get all their immunity there.
So yeah, if they swear their allegiance to this Constitution, they grant themselves immunity.
So you've essentially...
From the laws they're making, sorry.
Yeah. So you've essentially ascertained that in Australia there is no justice system because the system is corrupt from the top down. So now you want to go internationally to the ICC. My understanding is that as an individual you can't go to the ICC. Something has to happen from a state, or at least some sort of recognized corporate state level. Now, I personally believe that could be as low as state council, or like a local councillor or a local council, or maybe even something even lower down the chain in the government scheme of things recognized as government. But you can't go in as an individual to the ICC and complain about what your country's doing to you. How are you going to address that issue?
Well, one point I want to make about that is recently, about a year and a half ago, a group of university students did get an application in there, but that's not where we're coming from. And that court case did get heard in the International Court of Justice. But so it's showing you that there are past situations where minority groups have been able to file in there and successfully get their cases heard. But we're not interested in a minority. The idea is to get, as many, tens of 20s of 50s of 100,000, 150,000. We believe that we could probably get 500,000 people. And then what that becomes is a real problem for the Australian government, because you've now got, the United Civilians Saving Australia as one unit filing in there as 500,000 people, or 200,000, even 100,000 people, because the International Criminal Court, the ICJ, would never have had an application. You know, when you file into court, you would say, you know, Carl Leibold and Oars. So this will be the United, you know, or Peter Horton or Donna, whoever files it in there, and Oars, which is others, which will be 500,000. So or 200,000. So if you got even 10,000 people saying, like, this is what's happened, exposing the crimes here, and we need the United Nations peacekeepers, and I don't want to talk too much about what my opinion is of the United Nations, but because they've sort of failed to act, and we wish they'd acted sooner. But however, if they get enough of us signing this document to, you know, ask their peacekeepers to arrest the people in power for committing these war crimes against us, and it is war crimes, it is genocide, it is crimes against humanity, and it's also acts of aggression. Clearly, because if we've got the police wearing the crown of the United Kingdom here, that can't be here if we're a sovereign nation. A sovereign nation, we have our own sheriffs with our own constitution and so on and so forth. So, and
that can get voted in. We've got a voting app that we can launch. So we're looking for people to really get their voice back. So it's not just someone coming in saying, we need to do this and we need to call that and we need to call Australia this. And no, we do a voting app and we put all the options forward. So we've got a blockchain digital voting app that's still being developed. We've got
it's actually finalised.
Well, it's finalised.
Yeah, it just hasn't gone through the testing.
It's just we can't talk to them at the moment.
Yeah, but yeah. So what we've got now is we've got what's called a representative democracy, but the representatives are the people who they select, put up on the post for us to elect from. So even that's fraudulent, but we're running what's called a representative democracy. But what we need and what we're going to make is what's called a direct democracy. So everybody will have on their phone, the voting app, and you won't need to go down to the local Freemason hall with the checkered box floors and all that sorts of thing and cast your vote in pencil. It'll be a blockchain voting app, which will have absolute 100% security, and we can pass laws that we want for we the people in 1 month. And we'll have all the records of who voted for it. There's too much voter fraud going on in this country. We do know a bloke that was on the Sky News. He's the leading voter fraud bloke in the country. He's been in the. We actually created the unleaded fuel regulations. So he's been in there for a long time, and he said to us, because he was on Sky News and they caned Sky News for doing it, he said, not one representative from an area, so like from the House of Representatives or the representative from that area has been voted in properly, because they keep going to all the different voting places and voting 5 or 10 times for the same people to get them in there. And he's got the evidence of it. He said since 1986, when he's been in there, there's been not one representative being fairly elected.
Yeah, I got similar stories from a former SAS guy who went around Sydney, just his electorate, which is out in Western Sydney, I think in the last federal election, might have been the one before it, and was able to go in and get 8 ballot papers. He only voted once, but he brought home the other 7. So he could have voted 8 times if he wanted to. He took that evidence to the commission, and of course, what did the AEC do?
Business as usual. Yeah. Business as usual, yeah.
Well, they all appear to be Masons.
Yeah, exactly.
Business as usual.
As soon as we can cut those bastards out of the decision-making link, the better it'll be, or at least the counting link.
Well, it's just a matter about making people aware.
It still doesn't, even if you had 500,000 signatures, is there any compelling reason the ICC would need to look at that, given that it's still not a state? It's still not a it's a large group of people. It's a civilian, protected civilians, and we're under foreign occupation. So if you sign on to this, you don't get into some members group. It's not some member. It's just
you become a protected civilian. So we all come together now with grand juries. Historically, is supposed to go through the Attorney General, is it? The Attorney General?
No, not the grand juries.
No, sorry.
The applications are supposed to go through the Attorney General Act.
Yeah.
To go to the ICCs, yeah. So we did the grand juries, and we've indicted that person.
Yes. So at section 268 in the Criminal Code Act 1995, at section 268121, it says you must apply to the Attorney General to go to the ICC. You must get a certificate of approval. But section 268122 says if he says no, you can't do anything about it. So what we did is when we ran the grand juries, we indicted him. So that means that he can't now knock it back because he's
being juxtaposed or he's compromised. What is it called? Conflict of interest.
It's a conflict
of interest.
So we've done our homework, and
thank you to all the grand jury people.
Yeah, they were legends. Yeah,
so brave.
And so,
oh, you were there. You helped me. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. So, and the other thing is, in this document, we are basically setting up our own nation state. So, and with civilian protections in the document, which become, if the officialdom or the agents come and do things to you, it actually becomes a war crime under the Geneva Convention. And Australia was a signatory to that Geneva Convention, and people can go out there and have a look at it. It's the Geneva Convention Act 1957, signed into domestic law within Australia. It's just that these things people aren't looking at, and this is why we got, sort of certain people, we won't mention their name, started whipping us, saying you can't use civilians. And we're like, well, we're occupied by a foreign military operation, and you only have to look at the coppers. What do they look like? They look like military soldiers because they are.
Who have they sworn their allegiance to? That crown. And what about all the generals and stuff?
Yeah, and we only have to look at, and people might dispute this, but we haven't got the document with us here, but what do we have? Governor General, Attorney General, and so on. Solicitor General.
Auditor General, State Attorney Generals, State Solicitor Generals, State Auditor General. Where's the General?
So some people will say,
when you're occupied,
because when you go into AI and put in what does general mean, when you put it in those terms, it will say, oh, they're generally in charge. But when you look at the Constitution, which is a foreign military occupation, because Captain Cook came on what? He came here in a naval military ship, and then the Postmaster General comes in and puts the stake in the ground, and then the military can then come on the land to protect the Postmaster General. And so
clever, isn't it?
They are very clever. They are, yes. But in the end, it's a bucket of eels, and we're going to tip all the water out of that bucket, and the eels are going to dry up.
Can I add another eel to your bucket?
Yeah. Go.
Then there's the bar that all the lawyers have to pass. And that's a beautiful arrangement that was originally registered as a theatre group. Why
That's right.
does it have to be registered as a theatre group? Because everybody who joins the bar acts on your behalf.
That's right. And we just did get a document the other day, and it shows you that when the barristers are sworn in England, it was actually in the Australian Bar News, or I don't have it where it is now, but we'll probably post it up on the site soon, or when the site goes live, that it shows you that they take their oath in a military built building. So we've got all the pointers, and so when you look at our governance at the moment, they're all ex-solicitors and barristers and all those sorts of things. And even in their job constitution, I'm pretty sure it says in there that if you're a solicitor, you can't be in there. But it's full of them now.
That was a good point that Mike did a quick video yesterday, just getting people back on track. And he's made a good point. It's like the Constitution's just for telling the Parliament what to do. It doesn't give us any rights, and actually now we've read into it, it takes our rights away. Well, we've got the Constitution as a big overblanket on this nation, on the landmass known as Australia. We then boot out the international human rights, the rights of the children. It seems to be able to give the people immunity, the government immunity to not have to function, to dictate and have a, what do we call it? A
dictatorship disguised as a democracy.
Yeah, that's what it is. A dictatorship disguised as a democracy.
Under that constitution.
But they're a bloody foreign occupation swearing their allegiance to a foreign crown.
And getting back to that bet situation before, because I don't think I quite finished off, but I put up a 10-to-1 bet that no one had in this country had voted for the current version of the Constitution with the Act binds the Crown removed from it. So removing accountability. Yeah, 371,000 people voted for it, but no one's voted for the one without accountability. Then the bet went to 20-to-1.
And
then no takers.
No one's voted for the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1900 UK or 1901 UK. That's just because when it's actually 1900 because that's when it was, because it's an act of the UK, isn't it? So what is it? A foreign act. Yeah. Yep. And what would a foreign act have interest in, Carl? I reckon a foreign act would have interest in its foreign affairs, wouldn't it? It really wouldn't have that much interest in the people that are here. If someone was coming in and having an overlay, they'd want all the best. And they actually said this when we come back up to 1919. Who said it in one of their speeches? They said, well, we would have different interests than what Australia would have because we're a UK. So Australia need to go and develop their own interests, and we've got different interests. So they've kind of been pushing them to try to get out.
Mr. Hughes.
Was it? Yeah.
Hughes. That's right. Yeah. Very true. All right. So you want people to sign this document. It's going to be up on the website when your website gets up. You do have a Telegram, so I'm going to show people here.
Jump on if they want. Website will be up hopefully the end of the week. We're just still fine-tuning this document. We've got a lot more great international law stuff in there. You get great protections. You basically reconvey. So you know all the TASA stuff where you've got to do a gazillion miles of work to reconvey, jump through hoops, do cartwheels down the street, do a high five and turn and spin on the spot and fill out 20 bits of paper to reconvey under TASA. Well, what we've done, we've just compacted that into a paragraph. So it's basically a high five and you're there.
Okay. All right. And we're going to have to do something about getting this out on the road so that people can see it, touch it, feel it, ask questions.
Yes,
about
please.
It.
We shall do a tour on it. We most definitely will be doing a tour on it. And in the background of this document, of course, is another massive document that we don't have anymore. Hopefully we might get it back from our friends at the police force, might give us some things back. Be great to get some of our documents back that we've slaved over for 10 and 12 weeks that they now have, that we kind of have some kind of copy somewhere if we could dig up. So if our friends out there at the police force could kindly return our things, we'd much appreciate it. And, one day, hopefully, we'll be able to scrutinise them to that level as well.
But the funny part is about that, Carl, is they're looking at it all now. They're going,
they're reading it. They go, oh, that's good one. More photos of the corruption whistleblower paper they did.
I bet. And a lot of them will go home and read it. But I wonder whether or not they will just simply dismiss it because of their programming, or whether or not they'll become curious and dig a little deeper.
That's not for us. We are just here to deliver the information. They can do with it as they will.
Well, let's hope that it doesn't take them 7 months to do with it what they will, and they get your gear back to you so we don't have to view your wonderful faces through a cracked camera for too much longer.
It's all right. I think it's good. I like our frames. It's nice framing.
It is. It's very nice. You've positioned yourself beautifully in there, Donna. It's wonderful.
Quite angelic. So beautiful.
All right, guys. Well, the website will be up, as you say. The website should be up later this week. By the end of this week, ucsa.land, and obviously we will have a further talk about what we can do to help promote it. We can put it up on our website, but I think this needs to be put in front of people. Events need to be held. People need to be, turning up with a baked good in hand and having a good chat with their community while this is explained to them, and maybe we can see a way forward.
If you need to talk to us or want to ask us anything, jump onto that Telegram channel at the moment. That's probably the best way to communicate. And Brian Shaw, we're trying to catch up with him. What else do we want to do a shout out for? We want to try and talk to Wayne Blue.
No, but we've got his number and we've got all those people.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Just trying to think if there's anyone else.
Stephen,
anyone else? We need media.
No.
So we need to get out. If anyone else wants to interview us or anything like that, I'd love Maria Z. I'd love to get interviewed by Maria Z about this. You know, and anyone else who might want to interview us,
Yeah,
please.
it's all hands on deck.
Yes.
That's what it is. And if you find any faults with the document, we want to know. We actually want to be wrong, so then we can be right, because that's where our hearts are. You know, and look, a lot of the documents in here have been not given to us, but we've been helped out by giants that have been doing this for a long time. So it's not just our document.
No, not at all.
We just collaborated it all together, and you know, with obviously our own insights into what's been going on here. And we'd like to thank all those people. We won't name them, but however, yeah, we would just like to say thanks for those people. So it's not just us.
No, of course it's not.
So we need to spread this far and wide.
And if we get knocked off, can you just keep going, okay? If something happens to us, honestly, just keep going. I'm for real. Don't stop. Don't stop.
I know some people who might be able to help you putting up, you know, anti-helicopter aids around the property. You know, it's got a lot to do with fishing line and stringing birds on them, but hey. See how well it goes.
They've kept monitoring the property as well. They you know, who knows? That's the thing when you get raided. Stay calm, do what they say. Highly likely your property's bugged and all your cars are tracked and bugged now. Your phones are going to be bugged. When Takara got her phone back from the police, it only had half of the storage on it. So, yeah, if they do take anything, you know that your communications is completely compromised. Like all our Telegram channels, they can see now. So, yeah, be aware. If you're talking to us, you're talking to them because they can see everything we've got.
Yeah, but just be brave. And you know, show some courage for your country, because there's way more of us than them. There's
and at the end of the day, nobody's proposing anything illegal here. Nobody's proposing, you know, rushing out and arming yourself and trying to find the first helicopter flying copper and, you know, taking aim at them. That's nothing.
Well, they're scared of information.
Nobody's suggesting such a thing. This is simply information. Yeah, people will wake up, including the people jumping out of the helicopters and indeed the ones flying them, we hope. You know, sooner rather than later. So that's the Telegram channel there that you can see, the t.me /United Civilians Saving Australia, or the website, which will be up after the end of this week, let's call it UCSA.land. It's good that you can get all these great prefixes these days, or suffixes, or what we call those things. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm so glad that the experience of the raid, a couple of helicopters, didn't terrify the bejesus out of you.
It's not our first rodeo. It's not our first rodeo. So it was actually quite good. We got a chance to speak to them and talk to some people that you usually wouldn't access. So, they went through their drills, and we've got their names, and we will be going through our drill now.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And all I can say is stay safe and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you very much, Carl. Bless.
Talk soon. Thank you.
And speaking of being prepared, I would suggest that coming up very shortly, 27th of next month, you're going to get a national emergency broadcast test in the flavour of being aware. Now, this is going to happen at midday Eastern Standard Time, and progressively, obviously, across the nation at whatever time zone you happen to be in. But it is going to take place on the Oz Alert system, pardon me, and it looks for all the money like that is going to be, well, certainly one way of getting a message out. As I did hear somebody posted somewhere, you might want to put your electronic devices inside a protective bag or cage, shall we say, or something like a Faraday cage on that day. just in case, because if they're pinging you with that, what else are they pinging you with? But anyway, that message is up for grabs. Now, while we have been chatting, Keir Starmer has quit. Let's see if I can make this work. Oop, we might take the sound off.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought that was rain.
Thank you. Walking up this street 2 years ago was the proudest moment of my life. A new Labour government, the first in 14 years. A page in our country's history turned after years of disappointment and despair. The chance to change the lives of millions of people for the better.
Failed.
That's what I came into politics for.
Failed.
The journey to that point was not easy. 6 years ago, I inherited a Labour Party that was politically, financially, and morally bankrupt. I was told time and time again that my party was finished, that we were consigned to history, that a majority at the general election, let alone a landslide majority, was impossible. But we proved those people wrong because we changed our party, ripping out the poison of anti-Semitism, restoring trust on the economy, defence and national security.
This is Britain
and becoming a party that once again stood proudly with, not against, our national flag. The hard work of change was with a singular purpose, not power for power's sake, but to change Britain for the better, to build a fairer country with dignity and respect.
Oh, you failed
where
there.
Everyone is seen, everyone is valued, wealth and opportunity for all, not just the privileged few.
Still let the young Mr. Novak.
And look at what we've achieved in just 2 years. An economy that is stronger, growing faster than our peers.
Burning cars in the streets.
Rising faster than inflation in every single month since
Burning
we came to power.
Buildings.
Investment secured, infrastructure being built. An end to austerity, with the fastest fall in NHS waiting lists for 17 years. The biggest improvement in rights for workers and renters in a generation. The biggest uplift in defence spending since the Cold War. Small boat crossings falling. Asylum hotels closing. Protecting young people from social media. And 500,000 children being lifted out of poverty because of the choices that I made.
Had enough. Couldn't be bothered to listen to any more of this shit. I did great things. I did so many great things. I've just been thrown out by my colleagues and forced to retire. We can only hope that the same thing happens to Albo in the not too distant future, although that would be exactly what the Labor Party would be working toward. God love them. Now, just back to Donna and Peter. We were discussing the constitutionalists in there and the constitutional argument. I saw Stephen Spear's name thrown up. I did actually try and mention that, but they didn't hear it. So, unfortunately, didn't get a comment regarding that. But Stephen, I've found, is impossible to get a hold of, doesn't reply. I've sent emails before, doesn't reply to those. I did have somebody who was working with him, and that bloke disappeared off the face of the earth for some time. I think he got locked up, not quite sure what happened there, and was probably locked up for all the wrong reasons, meaning, you know, he was on the right track as far as we are concerned. But I guess I can try and reach out again, but I've not found him very easy in any way, shape or form to go and see or to speak to. But there are plenty of others out there at the moment, and one of them is Jackie Dundee. Now, she was recently in Queensland and had this to say.
We are now suing these High Court registrars for perverting the course of justice and obstructing the people's access into the High Court, because under the rules that they use, if a matter, with any decision or rejection of matters, they must provide what's called intelligible and justifiable grounds as to why they came to that decision. Now, they failed. We have just had 2 High Court justices do the same with another matter pertaining to a patient that was held in a mental section of a hospital up here in Queensland. They also provided no intelligible justification, so they're about to get raked over the coals. We're about to bring in federal court justices and the states as well and charge them with fraud.
Raked over the coals by whom? You're apparently going to be charging everybody who you could probably present these people to with various different things, frauds and God knows whatever else, which got me to thinking a little bit. Now, there are certain things that you may or may not have taken into account. Jackie's a very smart lady, so I'm sure she has full knowledge of things like judicial immunity. And as she alluded to, there are certain areas where they must perform fiduciary duty and all that kind of thing. But we also understand from the various hundreds of thousands of notices, if not millions of notices, of fiduciary duty notices that have been handed to civil servants, public servants around this nation, and they haven't been enforced in any way, shape or form. We just know how good that is. But we do understand that judicial immunity has been recognised in the High Court in a couple of cases, Fingleton v Queen in 2005 and Gallo v Dawson in 1990. Now, the reasoning behind that finding is that judges must be able to decide cases independently without fear of being personally sued if you get a bit pissed off that you lost. Okay? Now, as a result, if a judge hears a case, makes a finding of fact, rules on evidence, grants or refuses orders, or sentences a defendant, they are generally immune from any civil suit, even if that decision is alleged to be wrong, negligent, biased, or malicious. Now, the proper remedy in place currently, and we have no control over that either, as you well know, is to appeal. Then it goes to judicial appeal. Then it goes to a judicial commission, if it's applicable. And the only way out from there is a parliamentary removal, which only happens in extreme cases. Now, there is such a thing called the Judiciary Act of 1903, and it has some relevant sections to it, along with common law. It says that many state laws also contain provisions that protect judicial officers, registrars and the like, that she is claiming they're going to be dragging in and having charged, in front of whom and where this is going to be heard, I have no idea. But anyway, let's continue. Now, in Queensland, the Judicial Officers Act of 1985 for Queensland is the equivalent legislation, and it does provide some protections for these people. But let's go to the judge. What sort of protections would a judge get? Well, they get potentially full protections for a judicial judgment. But if there is something that's happened that's of a non-judicial nature, then they can be sued quite easily. Now, give you an example. The judge goes to, Royal Canberra, plays 9 holes of golf, has a 3-hour lunch with 3 bottles of wine, jumps in the car, drives home, has a bit of a bingle on the way home, and somebody gets hurt. His Rolls Royce gets banged up a bit, and somebody's old Commodore is a write-off. Yes, in that case, the judge can be charged. Would the police officer have the balls to do so? And that leads us into a whole other area of the involvement, shall we say, that we're talking about. Employment-related conduct outside the judicial areas or outside judicial functions. So if the judge was making inappropriate advances towards one of his underthings or her underthings, as the case might be, their registrars or juniors in some way, then they can be sued for that. And of course, if the judge was selling you a house and you paid for the house only to find out that it wasn't the judge's house to sell in the first place, then yes, you can sue the judge for that. What about registrars and other court officials? Well, most of them, if not all of them, and particularly in the High Court, they are covered by a thing called acting in good faith. They are also covered under statutory authority and pursuant to a court order. their actions are mostly protected, but of course there are areas where you might find there is some area that you can get them. Now, if a registrar could potentially be sued, I guess, if they acted outside of their authority. Now, if they committed negligence, you'd have to prove that somehow. And I don't know who you're going to prove that to, because you're arresting everybody that you'd have to prove it to. You'd have to prove that they committed fraud maybe, or knowingly falsified records, engaged in misconduct not protected by statute. And that might be an argument platform for Jackie's crew going forward. I'm not sure. Now, whether or not that immunity depends on a few things, whether or not immunity applies. It depends on the legislation governing that court, whether it be the High Court or the Federal Court or Magistrates Court. It depends on the nature of the act and whether or not whatever happened was administrative or quasi-judicial. And if you don't know what quasi-judicial means, go and look it up. If a registrar enters a false order or enters or alters records, it becomes a different issue. If a court official knowingly falsifies records, knowingly creates an order that was never made, or knowingly alters court documents, or knowingly commits fraud, then yes, they can be charged, and judicial immunity would not generally protect them under any sort of criminal conduct. But it's a big, big, big leap. And that's a big statement that she's made there. We're going off to arrest these people and these people and these people, including, High Court judges, High Court registrars, Federal Court judges and registrars, and all power to them. I'm just wondering how they're going to arrest them, in what way they're going to arrest them. And once they've arrested them and supposedly, I guess, charged them, who do you bring them before so that these charges may be heard, a defence can be prepared and presented by these entities that you're arresting? I only bring this up because it is an example of so many people in this side of the fight that have so many ideas. You've seen Peter and Donna, the Corruption Whistleblowers, attempts this evening. And there is some very, very, very strong work gone into all of that, as I'm sure there is a very, very heap of strong work. And I know that Jackie's put a lot of work into a lot of things over her time in this movement, and thank her for it. In fact, one of the more memorable things that she's done was, in line with Jodie Lowe, run a trip to Canberra, a convoy to Canberra, where she was able to raise somewhere in the vicinity of $30,000, where she didn't keep it for herself. She put it into a law case to try and help us all. And I think the lawyer managed to put his kid through the first year of school with those fees that she paid. So she lost. And that is part of the problem, because we're dealing in their courts and it is controlled from the top down. Who do you bring these people before to face justice? It is a question that I am quite vexed with, and I think some of us have some ideas on who that should be and how that should be, but that might be for another day. Might be for another day that turns a bit orange, because yes, folks, the orange wave doth continue, and this time it's rolling up a bit of blue. This lady is a Harkin. Her name is Colleen Harkin, and she has quit the Liberal Party. Now, she may not be a figure or a face even that you recognise, but behind the scenes, she is a very large figure in Liberal Party terms. She was, or is, part now of a Conservative think tank, an education director, and has been involved with the Liberal Party all of her life. And in her resignation email, delivered a very scathing assessment of the Liberal Party, saying that she'd spent decades volunteering, donating and campaigning because she believed the party stood for principles worth defending. However, she said that the party no longer recognised, and she's no longer recognising the party she once supported. I have not changed. The party has, she wrote, describing the organisation as being in an insipid state, driven by factionalism, political expediency, and a lack of political conviction. So she has walked on the Liberal Party and did that after going to a One Nation event in Melbourne on the weekend. And why? Well, if you read the top half of that, it was because of the people at that One Nation event. The diverse amount of people there, the very, very strong feelings, the community feelings involved there, and the fact that it was such a wonderful, genuine meeting of great community-minded people. There was no angst or anger or throwing things around. There was just a genuine, full commitment to make our lives better. And she could see that One Nation are committed to just that, and the people that are supporting and pushing One Nation are very much committed to that. And she could also equally see that the Liberal Party at a federal level and potentially state as well, I imagine, is insipid, I think was her word. Strong words, but it goes to show that, Anthony Albanese may not be getting it as easy as he thinks. The Labor and Liberal fight might decimate. It looks at the moment like the Liberals would be down to about 12 seats. One poll showed One Nation winning over 60. I think it was 63 seats if an election was held tomorrow. Here's Albo's thoughts. Ooh, can't do that. How much longer will that little piece of work be in the ground, do you think? I think we will see him. There'll be some sort of conniption shortly, and Albo's got to go. He absolutely got to go. Speaking of got to go, I've probably got to do the same, but I did want to mention One Nation have released something of a bit of an idea of tax. I say loosely the word policy. They have introduced an amendment to Labor's big tax bill that they are putting through and waiting to get passed through again. That's the one that involves the capital gains tax changes and the negative gearing changes and income tax cuts that have been promised to us all. Now, if Labor government is serious about the tax cuts, One Nation says it will vote to pass them as a standalone measure. That means that we'll get our tax cuts along with nothing else. But I doubt Labor will vote for that. Labor can't tie the $5 a week tax cut to their lies and broken promises in a poison pill and then criticise Parliament for not passing that bill. I would agree. One Nation is saying a lot of good things in Victoria at the moment. Let's hope they are standing up a lot of good candidates. There are 1,200 people rumoured to be joining One Nation. That could be on a national basis. That might not just be for Victoria, although I believe it just is for Victoria. So they need to get through those people as fast as they can. Let's hope they're raising or continuing to raise some of that they were going for 4.7 million the other day. I didn't look over the weekend to see what they're doing. So still going for 4.9 million. Donations seem to have slowed a little bit. That's because Albo hasn't done anything stupid and come out and said anything. $4,787,000 and a little over the top. So that's where they're at currently on their fundraising drive. They've got no shortage of funds. They should be able to hire in a bit more help to get through the less deep of the security checks, shall we say. But I understand some of those checks can only be done by government agencies. Those government agencies have got to do checks for the entire country and maybe not just one political party while they're going through a system. So they'll be going through other checks as well, have no fear, though, and that is happening right across the country. Another interesting thing's happened with the ABC, that is that they have rejected Sally Grover, who wrote an opinion piece. She sent 37 emails, 3 drafts, and waited 3 weeks over negotiations before the ABC finally rejected her, saying that her opinion piece had inaccuracies that they refused to cite. Sally, of course, is the lady who owns the firm that lost recently in the sexual discrimination courts and absolute stupidity. I think she owns Giggle, so that'll give you a bit of an idea. Now, before I shoot off tonight, I've prattled on long enough. Black Sheep, God love him, first time out of Tasmania in a many moons. He's found his way through Sydney up to Queensland and now is headed through central Queensland, where he camped out the other night at Capella. This is him set up on the side of the road with his good mate. And then they've got on to Mingala. Now, Mingala, where the hell is Mingala, I hear you say? We should probably do something along the lines of a... no, No, we shouldn't. I'll not say that. Mingala. There is a pub opening in Mingala, and I got to tell you, Black Sheep is, he's fully set up. He's got the outdoor room set up, the patio fully enclosed. He's made a couple of friends. That's Jack and Jill. They're just over the back fence, and he's been out sightseeing today, hanging around. I'm gathering he's going to get a bit of a look at a few crocs around there. Knowing Black Sheep, he's probably thrown a rod in. There might be a barra swimming in there, buddy. Some beautiful pictures. Thank you very much for sending those through. He was at a place called Towers Hill, which is an old mining site. And then here he is on a day trip having a look out over Charters Towers today. So he's back to Mingala tonight, though. And that is because coming up this weekend, if you happen to be in far north Queensland and you're wondering, oh, look, I don't mind a bit of a drive, I might head off to the Mingala pub opening. New owners taking over this weekend, so it's on the road from Townsville to Charters Towers. If you want to get a bit of an idea, it's a fair drive from anywhere, but when you live up there, everywhere's a fair drive, probably only a couple of hours from Townsville. Looks like, I don't know, I'm guessing, can't really see. That's 20. Yeah, it's probably half an hour drive from Charters Towers and maybe an hour and a bit from Townsville. But if you're heading somewhere over the weekend looking for somewhere cool to hang out, the reopening of the Mingala Hotel will be, or Mingala, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Mingala maybe, is going to be on. We might even wind up talking to somebody from there potentially over the weekend. Leading up to the weekend, although I will be travelling Thursday and Friday for that matter, but shows will be happening. Love your work, folks. Thanks for coming in and joining us tonight. I hope you found that stuff a bit interesting. I'm not having a go at Jackie Dundee. There's no point. This isn't about having a go at people who I know more than you do or yada, yada, yada. The fact is we all need to come together. We've all got pieces of the puzzle. None of us have every piece to this puzzle. I believe we all hold the pieces to the puzzle, but many people guard them. Many people guard them jealously because they've done nothing but work on finding those pieces for, in some cases, 30 or 40 years. But at some point, I would ask you to have a really good look at who remembers who wrote the current Constitution in Australian society. And if you're angling to get remembered, if your ego needs to have your name written on it somewhere, just ask yourself how effective the last ones were, because I couldn't tell you who wrote it. And you shouldn't be able to tell me who wrote it either, because constitutions need to be written by the people, for the people. There's a reason for that. Keeps the dickheads in check.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!